everyone, my name is Mandi Lynn. I'm an author, cover designer in the creator of AuthorTube Academy, and today I have with me Megan Collins. We are at the book club bookstore, and I am super excited today because we are doing an interview. So first off, Megan, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. So I am Megan Collins, as you said. My book is The Winter Sister. I have been writing pretty much my whole life. And I'm also a creative writing teacher. I'm an editor at a literary journal, and this is my debut novel. So the book is about a woman who, when she was 14 years old, her older sister Persephone was murdered, and the case was never solved. And now that she's 30, she has to return home to take care of her mother who has cancer. And it's once she's there that she runs into her older sister's boyfriend that she had before she was killed, and finds out that he's a nurse where her mother's being treated for cancer. So she's always believed that he was the one that killed her sister, and so now she has that push to go try to figure out what actually happened, because there's been no proof, there's been no evidence, and that kind of sets her off on her path.
Awesome. And that's like right up my alley. I used to be obsessed with the ID Network growing up. My parents were slightly concerned.
Yeah. People would be very concerned about even like my internet search history.
Oh yeah,
it's a dangerous place.
Yes. When I wrote my debut novel, I had like the girl passes away and becomes an essence, but her body's there, so she becomes separated. And so I had to look up how fast a body rots and like when rigor mortis kicks in, just to make sure it was factually correct. Okay, so this book is on multiple most anticipated reads in 2019 lists. How did that feel to have it be on all those lists and to have everyone so excited for it?
It was amazing. It was also surprising. Like, you don't really think about that when you're doing the writing. You don't even, a lot of times, I know that when I was writing, I wasn't necessarily thinking about the audience or the readers. It was more about getting the story that I wanted to tell. And of course, I wanted an audience and I wanted readers. But so then to have people start noticing it and have people say that they can't wait for it to come out, it was really surreal. It was really exciting. It feels like there's a lot to live up to, and you don't want people to then be disappointed, but it's been so exciting, and I mean, it like literally dream come true. So
yeah, awesome. Now, did you know when you were writing this, did you know right away you wanted to traditionally publish it, and how did the publishing process work for you? So, yeah, I always wanted to go the traditionally published route, I guess because I knew more about that than self-published, and I know that, you know, each one has their own kind of hustle that you have to do. Yeah. And I just knew more about traditionally published, and so this is actually the third book that I've written, even though it's my debut novel. So I had an agent for the first two novels, who's the same agent I have, and she just wasn't able to sell them, unfortunately. We kind of got close a couple times, but it just didn't work out. So when I wrote this one, same story, she sent it out, and I kind of was starting to think, oh, it's gonna be the same thing. I wrote now my third book, and it's not third time's the charm. And but then right kind of as I was losing hope and I was like, oh, it's not gonna happen, then I get a call from an editor who wants to talk about it, and then they make an offer, and it was just like, okay, we're doing this. Third time is the charm. How long did it take you to write this book? So over the course of 2 years I was writing it, but it was more like in chunks, because I'm a teacher, I'm very like beholden to the academic calendar kind of. So I wrote it over 2 summers, and then a little bit in the school year too, when I was like really getting close to the end and I knew I had the momentum and I had to just keep going. So I'd say if I squished it all into one time, it was probably like 7 months, but again, it was over the course of a couple years. Okay. What is one thing you wish you knew before you started writing this book? Ooh, that's a great question. There's so many things. I wish I knew that
I guess that like publishing is not what you really think it is, and that there's, you get that dream, you have that dream, and then you hit it, and then it's like, okay, now I'm here. Now I have other dreams that are coming. Now I want it to be an instant bestseller or whatever.
Yeah.
I want Reese Witherspoon to come along and be like, I love it, and then make me an instant bestseller. But so it's hard. Just having reviews come in, and either they're good or they're not so good, and so I guess I just wish I had known that even though this was my dream and it is still my dream and I'm happy to be living my dream, that it's not just like you get the book published and then like everything's great forever. It's like you still have goals that you want to meet after that, and that it can be hard too in its own right. There can be still disappointments along the way.
Yeah. Dreams come and they shift,
Yeah.
and you have to shift with them.
Yeah.
So with that said, do you plan on publishing another book after this?
Yeah, I actually have a book coming out next year.
Okay.
That I'm getting close to being finished with the writing of. It's due to my editor in July, so I better be close with the finishing. Yeah, it's another kind of psychological suspense story. It's about a woman who sits down to have husband. It's about a woman who sits down to have dinner with her husband, and they're watching the news, and they see this story about this woman who has gone missing in a different state, and she's like, I know that person. She's very familiar to me. And the husband's like, well, of course you do. And he says her name, and she's like, that name means nothing to me. Who is that? And he's like, well, she also went missing 20 years ago, and it was this very famous kidnapping when she was 16, and then she was like brought back, and nobody ever knew who did it. And she's like, okay, I don't know anything about that story, but I know that I know her. And then she starts to realize that she might have been the only witness to this kidnapping, but that she kind of repressed it because it was so traumatic.
Okay.
So she's kind of desperate to recover those memories so that she can help find where this woman who was kidnapped once and kidnapped again might be now.
Awesome. And that's coming next year?
Next year, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Probably summer of 2020.
What is your favorite part of the writing process?
My favorite part is probably, I mean, this seems kind of obvious, but when everything just kind of clicks together, and because you have those days where you just struggle to even come up with like 200 words, and but I love the days where you just kind of lose yourself in it, and you look up at the clock and it's 2 hours later, and you're like, what, where did all that time go? So I love that. I feel like that's such just a natural high. And I also love the way that the writer's brain will work on such a subconscious level when you feel like you're very conscious of everything that's happening because you're putting it on the page, but then you get to a certain point in the manuscript and you're like, oh, this thing that I was writing earlier, just this throwaway moment, that's actually a seed to something that's going to happen now, and just the surprise in that, even if you totally outline everything, like just the surprises that
when
come
you
up.
accidentally interweave stuff without meaning to. Yeah, I've had that, and that's like the best feeling.
You're like, I am a magician.
Yes, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
I am a good writer. Is there anything else you would like to add? Any words of advice to future authors and anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, and it seems so simple, but it's really hard, just to never give up, because I know that my road to getting here was really long. It felt like, I mean, I guess it was like 9 years, so maybe it's not that long, but it felt so long at the time. And there's a lot of rejection and a lot of disappointment, but you just have to keep pushing, and you can't let the rejection kind of veer you off course and be like, oh, okay, I guess I don't have it, because everybody is, whether it's a publisher or an agent or a reader, like everybody's going to connect with something and then not connect with something else. So subjective, obviously. So you just have to keep fighting until you hit that right time, the right person, and maybe even the right time in the market, whatever it is. And just not stop.
Okay. Now, last but not least, where can people buy your book?
They can buy it, hopefully, in most bookstores. You can find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and a lot of indie bookstores, and online at Simon & Schuster, and then I always have links to things in my social media. I'm Megan Collins Writer on Instagram. I'm Megan Collins on Twitter, and on Facebook, Megan Collins Writer.
Awesome. And I'll leave all her information down in the description below. You also do a ton of signings in the Connecticut area, right?
Yeah.
So if you'd like a signed copy and you live in the Connecticut area, it should be easy enough to find one. I'm going to grab myself one today. Otherwise, that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, give the video a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you'd like to stay up to date with everything I'm up to, subscribe to my newsletter and support me over on Patreon to unlock exclusive content. Thank you all for watching.